Okay, so you're someone who likes to stay informed, right? Wants to know what's happening, but without getting bogged down in all the details. We
Absolutely.
get that.
Yeah.
That's why we do this show, right? Today's deep dive, well, we're tackling something big. It just came out too. The FDA's 2025 guidance on AI in drug development.
No.
It sounds very niche, I know, but trust me, this is a big deal for all of us, not just people in pharma. AI is everywhere now, especially in health and medicine, so we need to understand how it's being regulated.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important point. AI is becoming so central to healthcare. It
Huh.
touches everything from discovering new treatments to analyzing how those treatments work and even predicting safety issues. So yeah, the FDA getting involved like this with this guidance is something everyone should pay attention to.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to break down this whole FDA guidance, makes sense of it all. So consider this your shortcut to understanding what's going on with AI in drug development.
I like that. A shortcut to understanding AI and drug development.
Right. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
So to start, maybe you can give us the big picture. Why did the FDA feel like they needed to release this guidance now? What's the context here?
Well, you got to remember how much AI has changed drug development.
Yeah.
It's gone from theory to reality, and it's impacting everything. We're talking speeding up drug discovery, making clinical trials more efficient. Heck, even predicting how medicines might interact in the body and what the risks could be.
So it's like AI has become this essential tool in every lab and research study. And the FDA obviously saw this coming and decided they needed to step in with some guidelines to keep things in check.
Right. And it's important to emphasize this isn't about stopping progress or hindering innovation. The FDA's goal is to ensure that as AI gets more powerful in this field, the decisions it's helping to make are reliable, transparent, and meet the rigorous safety standards that are already in place for drugs. We've got to protect public health, and
Hmm.
that means making sure the AI we're using is trustworthy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like setting ground rules so everyone involved, from the people developing the AI to the drug companies and, of course, the patients themselves, can have confidence in how this technology is being used.
Exactly. Confidence and transparency. That's key here.
Now, thinking about how we got here, AI wasn't always this central to drug development, right? What were some of the key shifts that led to this point?
It's really fascinating to look back at how AI's role has evolved. In the early days, it was mostly used for basic research, things like analyzing massive data sets to find potential new drug targets. But fast forward to today, and AI's impact is everywhere. It's used in every stage of the drug life cycle, from designing clinical trials to supporting regulatory submissions and even monitoring drug safety once a medicine is on the market.
Wow, so AI went from playing a supporting role to basically running the show.
In a way, yeah, and that's precisely why a clear regulatory framework became so necessary. The scope of AI's use expanded so rapidly that the FDA had to step in and provide some structure.
Okay, so the FDA is providing that structure, but it's not a blanket statement covering every single use of AI in pharmaceuticals.
Right, the scope of this guidance is really specific. It focuses on AI models that directly support regulatory decisions.
Hmm.
Think of any AI that's helping the FDA evaluate a drug's safety, its effectiveness, or its overall quality. Those are the applications that fall under this guidance.
So let me just make sure I understand this. If a company is using AI for internal stuff, like optimizing their supply chain or making their manufacturing more efficient, that wouldn't fall under this guidance, right?
Exactly. Those are great uses of AI, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but they don't directly impact the decisions the FDA makes about approving drugs or keeping them on the market. This guidance is all about those AI models that could directly influence public health and patient safety. That's the core focus here.
That's a really important distinction to make. So the focus is on the AI that has a direct line to impacting patients.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's dig into how the FDA is ensuring these high-stakes AI models are actually reliable and trustworthy. That's where this risk-based credibility assessment framework comes in, right? It sounds like a pretty crucial part of this whole thing.
It's absolutely fundamental. I mean, think about it. These AI models can be incredibly complex, and if they make a mistake during the drug approval process, the consequences could be huge. So having a robust system for evaluating their reliability, their credibility, is essential.
Yeah.
And that's what this seven-step framework provides. It's a structured roadmap for building trust in AI-driven tools in this field.
7 steps. That sounds pretty comprehensive. So let's walk through them one by one. What's the first thing to consider?
Well, the first step is pretty straightforward. It's all about defining the question of interest. You've got to be crystal clear about what problem this AI is trying to solve. What is it actually predicting or analyzing? Let me give you an example. The question might be, can this AI accurately identify patients with a specific gene mutation who are most likely to respond to a new cancer drug? The more clearly you define this up front, the easier it is to assess whether the AI is even suitable for the task at hand.
Okay, so define the question first. Makes sense. What's next?
Next, you need to specify the context of use. In other words, where and how will this AI model actually be used in the real world? Will it be analyzing data from a clinical trial? Or maybe it'll be used for post-market surveillance of a drug. Understanding the specific environment and the types of decisions the AI will be informing is crucial for evaluating its potential impact and the level of scrutiny it needs.
Okay, so context matters a lot. Does that mean the level of scrutiny changes depending on whether the AI is being used in, say, a research lab versus directly in patient care?
You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
context of use has a huge impact on the risk assessment and therefore the level of scrutiny needed. An AI model that's being used to flag potential safety signals in millions of patient records after a drug is already on the market, that's going to require a much higher level of scrutiny than, say, an AI that's used in the early stages of drug discovery, where the impact on patients is less immediate.
Okay, so we've defined the question and we understand the context where the AI will be used.
Yeah.
What's the next piece of the puzzle?
Now we get into the nitty-gritty of risk assessment. Step 3 is all about figuring out what could potentially go wrong.
Hmm.
What's a potential harm if this AI model makes a mistake or provides a faulty analysis? And this risk assessment, it's not just theoretical. We're talking about the potential impacts on patient safety and the effectiveness of the drugs being developed. This is serious business, and it directly informs how rigorous the rest of the credibility assessment needs to be.
I can see how that makes sense. A higher risk application, something that could lead to a wrong treatment decision, would obviously need a much more thorough evaluation than something with lower stakes. So step 4 then takes that risk assessment and builds on it, right?
Exactly. Step 4 is all about developing a credibility assessment plan. This is where you lay out your strategy for proving that the AI model is reliable and trustworthy for its intended use. It's like a detailed roadmap for the evaluation process. It outlines the specific methods you'll use, the data you'll need, and the tests you'll conduct to demonstrate that the AI performs as expected.
So step 4 is the planning phase, and then step 5 is where you put that plan into action.
Precisely. Step 5 is all about execution. It's where you conduct those thorough tests, validation procedures, and evaluations that you outlined in your plan. This is where you gather the evidence to show that the AI model actually works as intended.
Okay, you've run your tests, you've gathered your data. What happens next?
Step 6 is all about documentation and transparency. You need to keep meticulous records of everything, the testing procedures, the data, the results, and crucially, any unexpected findings or deviations from the anticipated behavior. This documentation is essential for accountability, and it's critical for understanding any potential weaknesses or quirks in the AI model. Failing to properly document things could have serious consequences down the line.
And finally, after all that rigorous testing and documentation, we arrive at step 7.
Yes, this is the culmination of the entire process. Step 7 is where you determine model adequacy. Based on all the evidence you've gathered, you had to answer the big question. Is this AI model good enough to be trusted to support regulatory decisions? Does it meet the predefined standards for performance and safety for its intended use? The whole point of this 7-step framework is to instill the highest level of confidence in AI-driven drug regulation.
It sounds like a very thorough process, which is reassuring given how important these AI models are becoming. So once an AI model has gone through all these steps and been deemed adequate, that's it, right? Case closed.
Not so fast.
Mm.
AI models aren't static. They're constantly learning and evolving. That's where this idea of lifecycle maintenance comes in, and it's crucial.
Right, because AI isn't like a piece of equipment that you just approve once and then forget about. It's constantly ingesting new data and changing. So how do you keep up with that?
That's the challenge, and the FDA recognizes this. They're emphasizing a continuous lifecycle approach to AI models in this guidance. It means regularly evaluating the model with new data inputs to make sure it's staying relevant and accurate over time.
So you're not just checking in on it once a year. You're constantly monitoring how it's performing in the real world, looking for any signs of drift or unexpected changes.
Exactly. Continuous monitoring is key. You got to keep an eye on those performance metrics and be on the lookout for any outputs that don't align with expectations. If a model starts to lose accuracy or behave unpredictably, you need to catch it early. Investigate what's going on and address it head on to maintain that all-important credibility.
And addressing those issues might involve retraining the model with more up-to-date data or even fundamentally changing its algorithms, right?
That's right. Retraining is often necessary to keep an AI model in tip-top shape. This lifecycle approach is all about preventing those outdated or poorly performing algorithms from sneaking through the cracks and potentially leading to bad regulatory decisions.
Now, I know from experience that dealing with regulatory agencies can sometimes feel like navigating a bureaucratic maze. It sounds like the FDA is trying to make things a little easier when it comes to AI, though, by really encouraging early engagement and communication with developers.
They are, and that's a smart move. The FDA is basically saying, hey, come talk to us early in the development process. Let's have a conversation about your AI models before you get too far down the road.
That's a much more collaborative approach than the typical hands-off regulatory style. So what's the benefit of engaging early? Why not just develop the AI, get all your data, and then approach the FDA when you're ready for approval?
Well, imagine you've spent months, maybe even years, developing your AI model, gathering data, and you're finally ready to submit it for FDA approval. Then, boom, the FDA comes back and says, hey, we have some serious concerns about how you validated this model. You might have to go back to the drawing board, make major changes, delay your whole project. It can be a costly and time-consuming nightmare.
Oh, wow. So early engagement is kind of like an insurance policy. It helps you avoid those big setbacks later on.
Exactly. By engaging early developers can get valuable feedback from the FDA on their approach to demonstrating AI model credibility. They can iron out any potential wrinkles, align their development efforts with regulatory expectations, and save themselves a lot of headaches down the road. It's all about reducing risk and ensuring a smoother approval process.
What specific avenues has the FDA created to facilitate this early interaction? Are there like special hotlines for AI developers or something?
Well, maybe not hotlines, but they're offering formal meeting opportunities where companies can sit down with the FDA and specifically discuss their plans for assessing the credibility of their AI models. This direct dialogue is invaluable for understanding the FDA's expectations and addressing any questions or concerns right from the get-go.
So it's like a chance to get everyone on the same page right from the start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on top of those meetings, the FDA is also establishing clearer pathways for proactively evaluating AI models even before they're formally submitted for approval. This allows for a more iterative and collaborative development process where companies can get feedback, adjust their approach, and make sure they're on the right track.
It really does seem like they're trying to foster a genuine partnership between innovators and regulators instead of that traditional adversarial relationship where everyone's just waiting for someone to slip up. That collaborative approach can make the whole approval process much more efficient and predictable for everyone involved.
I completely agree. This open dialogue is essential for building trust, streamlining the approval process, and ultimately getting those beneficial AI-driven tools and therapies into the hands of patients faster.
Now, this guidance document isn't set in stone, right? There's still a chance for people to provide feedback and potentially shape the final version.
That's an important point. This guidance is still in draft form, and the FDA has opened a public comment period that runs until April 7th, 2025. This is a crucial opportunity for anyone with a stake in this issue to make their voice heard.
So industry experts, researchers, patient advocates, even just regular folks, they can all weigh in and share their thoughts on the proposed guidance.
Exactly. The FDA wants to hear from a wide range of perspectives. They're particularly interested in two key areas. First, they want to know whether this guidance is actually practical. Does it align with how AI is being developed and used in the real world? They don't want to create a bunch of rules that are impossible to implement.
Makes sense. So practicality is the first big question. What's the second area where they're seeking feedback?
The second focus is on those engagement options we were talking about earlier. The FDA wants to know if those formal meetings and the pathways for proactive evaluation, are they sufficient? Are they effective? Are they accessible to all the different types of AI developers and companies who will be using this guidance? They want to make sure these avenues for early interaction are actually helpful and not just creating more bureaucratic hurdles.
So they're really trying to fine-tune this guidance based on real-world input. That's encouraging. What do you see as some of the broader implications of this guidance for the pharmaceutical industry as a whole? How is this going to change the way things are done?
Well, for one thing, I think it has the potential to increase confidence in the use of AI in drug development, especially in areas like clinical trials. By providing a clear framework for validating AI models, the guidance helps companies navigate the regulatory landscape more effectively, and that could lead to faster innovation and development of new medicines.
So a win-win for both patients and companies.
Absolutely. And it's not just about speed. The guidance also establishes a more defined path for using AI in post-market surveillance, which is essential for monitoring drug safety once a medicine is already out there. This could lead to more efficient identification of potential safety issues and a more responsive system for protecting patients.
So AI is being used to improve drug development from start to finish. And this FDA guidance is ensuring that those AI applications are developed and used responsibly with patient safety and drug efficacy always at the forefront.
Exactly. This guidance is like a bridge connecting the incredible potential of AI with the need for rigorous oversight in the pharmaceutical industry. It's all about enabling responsible and ethical AI advancements that ultimately benefit patients by ensuring that new treatments are safe and effective.
So to sum it all up, this FDA guidance on AI and drug development is a pretty huge deal. It's bringing much needed clarity and structure to how this powerful technology can be used responsibly in the creation of new treatments and the protection of public health.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's laying the groundwork for a future where AI plays an even bigger role in improving healthcare, and this guidance helps ensure that those advancements are made safely and ethically.
And for you, the listener, even if you're not a scientist or a doctor, understanding this development gives you a glimpse into how rapidly technology is changing healthcare and how regulatory agencies are working to keep pace with those changes. It's a fascinating story that affects all of us.
It really is. And it makes you wonder about the bigger picture, too. Given how fast AI is advancing and how proactively the FDA is addressing its use in drug development, what other challenges and opportunities might arise as AI expands into other areas of our lives?
hmm
How will we regulate AI in fields like finance, transportation, education? It's something to think about as AI continues to reshape our world.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that's just beginning, and we'll be here to keep you informed every step of the way.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious
Stay informed.
and stay well.